What is going on, everyone? My name is SiahZ, and today I'm bringing you my 0.4 Cold Bow Amazon League Starter Guide. In 0.4, Snipe and Ice Shot are receiving buffs, so they should be doing more damage than they previously were, as well as some unique items being changed to give us even more damage for the build. Plus, with the new wolf form being brought in with the shape-shifting stuff, there might be some really cool skills we can use there. One of them I was looking into is Lunar's Blessing, which should give us significantly more damage for the overall build. But before we get into the full breakdown of why I'm so excited to play this build, if you guys could consider hitting a like on the video and a subscribe to the YouTube channel, it does help me out immensely, plus it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and in turn, currently that is the best way to support me. Also should be live right now streaming on Twitch and YouTube. The link for that will be in the description as well as the comment section of the video. All right, let's get right into it. So really quickly, I want to talk about the main reason why I'm super excited to be playing this in 0.4. So obviously the obvious stuff is there's significant buffs being brought in for Snipe and Ice Shot, items being changed to support cold-based builds even more, especially bow builds in itself, new bow cluster being added in, as well as the new wolf stuff being brought in that we can use some of the wolf shape-shifting skills to give us even more damage for our bow build that we're going to be doing, especially with Snipe once we freeze them. So overall, it's looking significantly better to be playing this build in 0.4, as well as the nerfs to like lightning rods and stuff like that, having less damage, new anti-burst damage mechanic, which shouldn't affect us at all playing this build, because by the time we freeze them, the anti-burst mechanic should be off of them by that point, so it allows us to one-shot with Snipe. So overall, it should be a significantly better time to be playing this build in 0.4 than it was in 0.3, even though back in 0.3 the build was slapping. It's going to slap even harder now in 0.4. So now we can get into the changes overall to Ice Shot and to Snipe. So Ice Shot actually did get its damage conversion up to 80% physical damage converted to cold. It previously was 70%, which is going to be nice for DPS. Obviously, it's going to be more converted over. It also did get its cone angle increased by approximately 50%. Basically, what this means is when you hit a projectile on an enemy and those secondary shards come out of the enemy, that cone angle is going to be increased, allowing it to have more clear potential. Overall, Ice Shot was already basically the best clear skill you can do if you're running like that, right? For just a straight up attack projectile on bow, it's now even better than it was previously. So obviously for clearing, we should not have an issue at all. Snipe actually had its Icy Blast damage increased, and it had the Heavy Blast and Heavy Stun like interactions completely removed. So now to do basically the Giga Juice damage with Snipe, you have to go into the freeze section. So Icy Blast previously did a gem levels 3 to 20, 560% and 1,878% attack damage. Now it's going to do 644% to 2,160% attack damage. So that's about a 300% increase on just the attack damage there for the gem, which I think the changes there to the attack damage equates to about a 15% increased damage to the skill, which is good overall and is going to make us do more damage. Now the main damage buffs overall actually come from the items that were changed. So Hyri's Ire actually got a complete change. So previously it would just add increased chill duration and then add flat cold damage to attacks, obviously doubling the evasion rating if you haven't been hit recently, etc, etc. So it's still going to be doing the double evasion rating if you haven't been hit and all that stuff recently, but now it's significantly getting a huge amount of DPS increase. So on top of having its chill duration removed, it's now being added is freeze duration, which obviously chill duration doesn't do anything because chill can be consistently reapplied, whereas freeze duration basically is going to allow us to be able to freeze enemies more easily and for longer periods of time. On top of that, instead of the cold damage to attacks, it's now getting added cold damage as extra damage. So basically, we can gain up to 25% of damage as extra cold damage, which is massive. It's way more DPS than the flat cold was previously having. So overall, for our build, this is going to give us a lot of overall DPS, and we're 100% going to be running this as a body armor once we can get our hands on it. The Senequo gloves did get changed as well. Previously, they had enemies immobilized by you take 25% less damage, but now it's enemies immobilized by you take 20% more damage. Obviously, immobilized means like if they're stunned, pinned, frozen, stuff like that. Obviously, since we're freezing them, we can run these gloves now. That's 20% more damage. If you combine these two, right, run the gloves, 20% more damage. We run the new Hyri's Ire, which is 25% damage gained as cold, plus the increased freeze duration, which allows us to freeze enemies more easily, on top of the Snipe damage increase and the Ice Shot, a little bit DPS increase. Then we factor in other stuff too that we don't even have here, the new bow cluster potentially, right? There's a lot of really good Giga Juice damage buffs that are being brought in to the cold cold archetype that's going to make it significantly better to play in 0.4 and should allow us to get it online a lot sooner. I wanted to talk about why we're going to be using the wolf shapeshift form with this. So wolf centralizes around like a lot of cold damage, right? It gives you a lot of extra added cold damage, and there's some skills we can use with our build to significantly juice the DPS. One of the skills I've been looking at is Lunar's Blessing, which is like the wolf's almost ultimate at least, and this basically gives you a buff that lasts for 5 seconds that gives you at least a gem level 13, 52% damage gain as extra cold, which obviously is absolutely insane. Should allow us to freeze a lot quicker, do a lot more damage, whatever we want. We could pop this before a snipe to get a lot more damage to one shot, you know what I'm saying, etc. Now I've read through the skill multiple times. It doesn't say anywhere where it's like you have to stay in werewolf form to keep the buff. It locks you in werewolf form once you use the skill. It just states that if you're in werewolf form while the buff's active, your attacks with the, you know, kind of werewolf attacks will call down moonbeams. Obviously, we're not going to be using that, which is fine. We just want to keep the buff. And like I said, we should be able to use this skill and then immediately go into snipe out of werewolf form, but still keep the blessing for all that extra cold damage. There's other skills as well for wolf that looks really interesting. One of them that I believe shown was on the gameplay trailer was Arctic Howl, which basically freezes enemies that are primed. Primed enemies, they have different thresholds depending on rarity, but for unique, it's 70% freeze build up. You can use Arctic Howl and boom, that'll instant freeze them. So meaning that we don't even have to apply that remaining 30% of freeze build up, which is absolutely amazing. There's changes to the marks as well, specifically freezing mark that we're going to be looking at and testing, that we can get extra damage gained as cold once the enemy is frozen. So what I'm thinking is for rotation at least, we go in, hit them with a freezing mark, freezing salvo them. They should be at that 70%. If not, we'll shoot a 1 to 2 ice shots to get them there. Then we Arctic Howl to freeze them. We Lunar Blessing into snipe, and everything is dead, right? Everything should be one-shotted, no matter if they're pinnacle bosses, map bosses, whatever, they should be one-shotted. And then we'll just ice shot spam around the map to basically full clear it. So real quickly, I want to explain why we're taking Amazon over like the newly buffed Pathfinder. The main reason I took Amazon was because I wanted damage and I wanted crit chance, and Amazon aligned perfectly with that, especially with the Deadeye nerfs and stuff like that to the Ascendancy. So obviously with Amazon, we're able to accuracy stack, we're able to get a lot of crit chance added back through that, as well as a lot of added physical damage on the weapon as long as we have accuracy on it. So with critical strikes, normally your chance to hits can only be 100%, but with this, it can go up to 125%, meaning that you can do 25% of 25, and that basically is added back as base critical hit chance to our skills. Now, it does take a good amount of accuracy stacking and a lot of, you know, accuracy, etc., to reach that 125 cap, but even reaching like, you know, 4.5, 5%, base crit chance added is going to be super nice, and it adds a lot of overall DPS, as well as, you know, allowing us to reach high crit points without having to really spend too much investment into actually getting accuracy or spending stuff on items. Now the next one obviously is penetrate, allowing 25% of the accuracy rating on the weapon to be added as physical damage, which is huge amounts of DPS overall, considering we can get like pretty easily T2 accuracy on the weapon, throw accuracy runes in, and then we get a crap ton of physical damage for the weapon, allowing us to significantly have a lot more damage without even factoring in running like Predatory Instinct for 15% more damage against enemies with those open weakness segments. So overall, the Ascendancy is amazing for DPS. Now, Pathfinder, obviously, if you wanted to be zooming 24/7, probably is the wave, especially with the new reworked running assault, having obviously that less move speed penalty while moving, access to not being able to be stunned while sprinting. But obviously, I wanted to go for damage. That's centric in the playstyle I like to go for. So that's why we're going into Amazon, because we get access to a lot more crit chance, access to a lot more damage. So I just want to touch up on a few last things that could potentially be broken for the build. One of those is the new drill neck penetrating quiver that's being brought in with the new Vow mechanic. Now this thing's absolutely insane. So we're going to be gaining deflection rating equal to a percentage of our evasion. We're going to be getting more damage and more crit chance basically for each time we've pierced. And the best thing about this quiver is that our attack projectiles return if we've pierced at least 2 times. So I believe you can throw ice wall down or frost wall, whatever it's called, and then you can shoot ice shot at it, and the secondary projectile should pierce through and hit the enemy. So potentially we could hit the wall, pierce through the enemy, and those shards should come back and hit again. So we might not even need to run a snipe, to be honest, if this thing is absolutely cracked running that. If we can maybe hit a corrupt and put this down to 1 time pierce instead of 2 times, we might be able to get a Nimbus. There's a lot of potential with this actual quiver that might be pretty insane. Obviously on top of the other stuff too, with the new double corruption you know, coming in with Vals could be really strong. We also have the Val uniques that basically are going to be like Foulborn from PoE 1. They can replace one of the mods on it to be something new. We don't know what all of those are yet. Those could be pretty insane as well. There's a lot of potential with the new mechanic, right? With the new uniques, etc., being brought in, and some of the new lineage support gems, the new support gems we don't even know about yet, right? Like all of them. There's a lot of potential that we can actually kind of throw on this build to super juice it and do a lot more damage than, you know, what we probably are currently even looking at in PoB and stuff like that. Overall, I'm super excited to play this in 0.4. It's looking like a fun time to play, especially with the new shapeshifting wolf skills. Looks like an absolute blast to go in there and throw some of those on and kind of have this cool, like, you know, aesthetic archetype of like shapeshifting into a wolf, but then going back and shooting, you know, your kind of like ice archer ranger vibes. You know, it's really cool and can't wait to kind of see how that plays in and feels in 0.4. As always, if you guys did enjoy the video and you're liking what I'm doing here on the channel, if you could consider hitting a like on the video and a subscribe to the YouTube channel, it does help me out immensely. Also should be live right now streaming on YouTube and Twitch. Link for that will be in the description as well as the comment section of the video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day or night, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.